And welcome back to Bay Area Sports Night. We're going to bring in another friend of the show right now, Zach Brook with NBC Sports Washington now. Jason, now the big thing as we go into this interview is I know you got your 76ers on right now at the monitor below here. So we'll
losing to the Bulls by a point.
We're going to be multitasking here. Zach Brook will understand. Let's welcome Zach into the show. Zach, I know you're based out in D.C. talking about the Washington teams, but I know you're also a big Celtics fan. Give us some perspective here. Where did that Boston team come from last night?
Honestly, I did not. I was kind of expecting them to compete. I never saw that coming. I think Gordon Hayward, he showed you what he did at Butler. He showed you what he did at Utah. I haven't seen that out of him in 2 years. And I don't think he's going to give you that every night, but if you can get 80% of that, I think they're right at the top of the East.
Yeah, I think the Celtics are easily the most talented team in the East. What is the difference between when they're playing like that and when they're not playing like that? What makes them good and what makes them bad? Because I don't get to see them on an everyday basis.
I think they knew that last night was like that. That was a must-win game. They had just blown the Sunday matinee matchup to Houston, and they've been struggling since All-Star break. And the teams really was starting to spiral sort of out of control. And I think they knew that this was going to be a big game. They saw that Klay Thompson was not going to be playing, and they really had kind of like a little bit of better shot to go in there and win. And I also think that the comments that were made in the last matchup when you guys were in Boston, that Gordon Hayward was quote-unquote looks like a liability, I think that kind of got to him, and I think that kind of turned him on a little bit. But last night was incredible. They were hitting everything. They looked like they were having a lot of fun, and I really haven't seen that all season. I think they can parlay that into a several-game win streak, but to shoot that well from the floor is very, very difficult.
How much does the team's mood center on how Kyrie Irving is feeling day to day?
I think it has a big factor because he can be a little he can be a diva at times, and that's clearly noted. And I think that I think the team is at its best when he's scoring a little bit and distributing and kind of setting everybody else up. When he's just dribbling it down 15 seconds in and just going into an ISO pull-up, that doesn't help anybody. Because if he gets blocked or if somebody picks it off, then the play's blown. I think they do better when they run as a scheme, run as a system, and kind of get everybody involved and get the best open shots possible. Last night, they were doing it, and they were falling.
Now, how do you see the East shaking out? Right now, you have the Pacers. I think, obviously, the top two seeds are pretty firm and set in Milwaukee and Toronto, but 3, 4, 5 are pretty close with Indianapolis, Philadelphia, and Boston. And then even 6 and 7, you got Brooklyn and the Pistons. They're all kind of jumbled up. So
teams that you can get rid of.
Yeah, how do you see that shaking out?
I think you got to really give credit to Indiana because I think everybody thought their season was a wash as soon as Oladipo went down. But they brought in Wesley Matthews, and their guys have kind of like held it together. And if they make the playoffs, I think they're a really tough out in the East because they play hard. They've got some great young talent, and they've got their big name guys. You've got Miles Turner. Bogdanovich has been playing incredible. And then you've got like Darren Collison, and he's been in this league for a long, long time. They've been great. I think Milwaukee's going to finish out number 1. I think Toronto will finish out 2. Boston, I think, will kind of slide into that 3 spot because they do have the tiebreaker over Philadelphia. And I think Indy will move down to 5. But 6, 7, 8 is going to be interesting. I know Brooklyn's been struggling a little bit. I know the Wizards have been on a pretty good hot streak. And Detroit's been pretty sneaky this year. I didn't think they were going to do that well, but Blake Griffin's having a career year. So it's going to be really interesting to see where it all rounds out.
When Bryce Harper signed with the Phillies last week, record contract, 13 years, $330 million, the reaction in D.C. was what?
It was like, wow. It was like, wait a minute. I thought he wanted to be closer to home. That's not closer to home. That's also somebody we're playing pretty soon. And he looks like he loves it there, and that's great for him. But I didn't expect that. Maybe he's been wanting to go there for a while, but he seemed to embrace it. Saw today he made a City of Brotherly Love joke, and that's great. And I think they're just really, really in on him, and they're really, really in trying to get Mike Trout, and they're not being quiet about that.
Now, is there any sort of vitriol towards Bryce Harper in D.C. right now? I know they love the guy. I used to live out there. So what's the temperature right now?
I think since he said during his press conference he had spoken with a lot of the teammates after he made his decision. He had spoken with Mike Rizzo, and I think the overall kind of like mood in the locker room is they really wish him the best. They really like playing with him, and they really want him to succeed in Philadelphia. Not too much that it hurts DC, but I think they want him to do well. And I think the fans, some fans will always boo. You always have your fans that are going to trash the guy that left, even though it was a good decision, and it's good for him financially and hopefully for his future. You're going to have some fans that don't agree with it, but you're also going to have some fans that's going to appreciate what he did while he was here in the nation's capital. And I think he's going to be received pretty well, but they're not going to be cheering him on for too long.
At NBC Sports Washington, how many times did you guys play the clip over and over of him saying that he can't wait to bring a title back to DC?
I thought he was like a double agent or something. I thought he might be working like at the CIA or something like that, or maybe he just got it wrong, or maybe they just got him on the inside now to make Philly a little bit worse, and then slowly but surely he's going to come right back down to DC. But I think it was just a mental mishap, and it really caught everybody's attention. Honestly, I think somebody could probably bet him to do it. That would be incredible, because imagine that would be great. But it was just a mishap. He's in Philly for the long haul. He's made that up pretty loud and clear. And we really enjoyed his time here in D.C., but I think it's time for him to move on, and he made that pretty clear.
You think he'll get the Boo Birds? I can't speak. Do you think he'll get the Boo Birds his first at-bat at Nats Park?
I think maybe. I'm just going to be really interesting to see how. I hope Scherzer's pitching that day, and I wonder if they're going to intentionally walk him or if Scherzer's going to try to strike him out.
Exactly. Just gas right down the pipe. All right. That's how I think that's going to go. And already he's been there in Philly for just a few days. And it's come out that there's some tampering deals because he talked about Mike Trout and the possibility of him playing for the Phillies. I kind of want to shine a light, though, on Bryce Harper's personality. Did we see that when he was in D.C., kind of trying to recruit guys or anything like that? Or was he still trying to find his own voice?
I think he was really just trying to find his own voice. I think it was like he was he was number one drafted by the club. He grew up with the club, and it was really just kind of like him feeling it out. Now I kind of see him like, all right, this is kind of like his like middle phase. Like, this is where he's going to sort of define his legacy and define his career. So if he wanted to do that in DC, he would have stayed. But I think he wanted to move on. I think he wanted to sort of be the centerpiece of a team and not be in the shadow of anybody else. And this gives him that platform to do so. And I think he'll be well received in the locker room. They seem to love him there. They loved him here, and I think all will be well.
Yeah, the Phillies creating a monster right now with that lineup. They are stacked. Him, Segura, Real Muto. But I think the Nats are in spectacular shape, too. Zach Brook, our friend of the show. Just in case you were wondering, Zach, if you were interested, Philadelphia, the Sixers, lost to the Bulls by 1 point. Who scored that last basket?
Zach LaVine hit a basket with 0.5 seconds left.
Yeah.
And the Sixers lost by 1.
Sixers lost by 1. Heartbreaker, Zach. But yeah, Zach Brook with NBC Sports Washington. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us. We'll talk again soon, Zach.
Appreciate it. Thanks.